The latest set for the Pokemon TCG Lost Origin will be here before you know it, and we gotta look at some of the most important cards because you don't want to be caught lacking. I wish I didn't say that. Hey everybody, Nick from 9 Card TCG. I'm laughing at myself because in my head I'm like, oh, you know, you got caught lacking in 4K. It's like a funny meme, but when I say it, it sounds ridiculous. I also don't have these back. Do that, I guess. We'll just, click them on. But I'm recording this on Monday, and Monday's always one of those days. But anyway, I'm getting super off the track here. Lost Origin officially releases on September 9th, at least according to Pokemon.com. And, we got to look at some of the cards that are coming out because there's some really interesting cards, a couple of new deck archetypes. And if you're new to the TCG like me, then you might not be familiar with the Lost Zone, a mechanic that's going to be returning in Lost Origin, surprise, and we got to talk about it and what some of these cards do, and yeah, we'll if you haven't already, hit the like button, subscribe, comment, all that kind of stuff, tell YouTube this is a good video, link to Dragon Shield, Discord, Twitter, all of that stuff in the video description. I just kind of want to get straight to the video here. We're going to be looking at these cards and their translations because they have not been revealed in English yet. These are all the Japanese cards. And so we're going to justinbasil.com, link video description. Please go check out justinbasil.com. It's a fantastic website. And it's where I get a lot of information such as this. So let's head over to that site and we'll start looking at some of these cards. So here we are, justinbasil.com, and we're going to start with some of the important cards. Now, Justin Basil has already done us the favor of pulling and identifying the important cards. You get an image, we get the translated text. So some of these cards might not make sense as to why they're important now, but as other cards kind of are shown or we go over other cards, you'll start to get it a little bit more. So we're going to start off with Parasect. It has the Exhaustion Spore ability. Now, Parasect is a stage 1, so that's something to keep in mind. But when you play this card from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon, you may use the ability. And the ability basically says that both Pokemon are asleep and poisoned. Why would you ever want to put your Pokemon to sleep or poison them? Well, there's a reason for that. We'll get there. Gengar, Abyssal Gate. Once during your turn, if this Pokemon is in the discard pile, you may put it onto your bench. If you do, put 3 damage counters onto this Pokemon. Now, it has the Screaming Circle, put 2 damage counters on your opponent's active Pokemon for each of their bench Pokemon for a single Psychic Energy. It's not bad, but we're really not looking to use Gengar's attack. We really just want to get it onto the bench. Now, the cool thing about this ability is that you do not need to run Ghastly and Haunter with this Gengar, since you can just discard it with Quick Ball, Ultra Ball, Research, whatever, get it into the discard, and then just use the ability to put it onto the bench. You get some damage counters on it. Again, why would you want to do this? It will become clear later. Radiant Gardevoir is one of 3 Radiant Pokemon we're going to be getting in Lost Origin, and it has the Veil of Affection ability. Your Pokemon take 20 less damage from attacks of your opponent's Pokemon V. Now this says Pokemon V, so if you get hit with an Inteleon's Aqua Bullet, it's not going to do 100 damage. Instead of the normal 120, you'll still get hit for 120 because it's not a Pokemon V. So, Radiant Greninja's attacks will not be reduced by Veil of Affection. It's only Pokemon V. It's okay. It's cool for like wall decks, things that want to take less damage. I don't know how much we'll see this, but interesting, and nonetheless, it'll be fun to play with, I'm sure. Gardevoir is a very popular Pokemon, so it's going to be a chase card for some, guarantee it. Banette with the Puppet Memorial ability. Once during a turn, you may put a supporter card from your discard into your hand. If you do, put this Pokemon into the Lost Zone. Lost Zone coming back. So what the Lost Zone is, I guess this is a good time to talk about it. When something is played, it goes to the discard. However, there is a separate area of the play field called the Lost Zone, and cards that go into the Lost Zone cannot be recovered. So something in the, you put in, discard an energy, and then you can play Ordinary Rod to get that energy back, or you can play Raihan or Melanie to get the energies from the discard. When things go to the Lost Zone, that's it. They're gone. They're essentially removed from the game. And that's, for some decks, really, really good. So this is a stage 1 Pokemon that lets you get a supporter from your discard, put it into your hand, and then it goes into the Lost Zone. Yeah, there are decks that want to do Lost Zone nonsense, but I don't know if this is it. Comfey, on the other hand, has the flower picking ability. Once during your turn, if this Pokemon is in the active spot, you may look at the top 2 cards of your deck, put one of them into your hand, and the other in the Lost Zone. So this is a basic Pokemon that has similar vibes to Mysterious Tail Mew. You put it into the active, you get to look at the top 2 cards. It's almost like a trekking shoe. That's, I think, a better way to describe it than, say, Mysterious Tail Mew. But you put this Pokemon into the active, and it's a trekking shoe ability. So you look at the top 2 cards, and one goes into your hand, one goes into the Lost Zone, and that's really good. A lot of these Lost Zone decks are going to be running 4 Comfeys because you want to cycle through them to get cards into the Lost Zone as quickly as possible. It also helps you be a little bit more turbo to find pieces that you might be looking for. Enamorous V, one of my least favorite Pokemon ever. I mean, my goodness, I think it's just, I do not like this. Love's Guardian. As long as this Pokemon is in the active spot, prevent all effects of your opponent's Pokemon's abilities done to all of your Pokemon that have any psychic energy attached, except for Enamorous V. So, I don't even know what is this going to protect you against? It's going to protect you against quick shooting? Okay. If you have a psychic, it's going to protect you against... God, whose Pokemon's abilities are affecting your opponent's Pokemon? What else is that? Umbreon that has the darkness signal, whatever Umbreon's ability is, that it's boss's orders. I don't know how many abilities. Like I don't understand how useful this will be or how much play it'll see. I don't expect really any. Barbacoa. Lost Block. As long as this Pokemon is in play, your opponent puts any prize cards they would take into the Lost Zone instead of putting them into their hand. Really cool. I don't think we're going to use this. I mean, it's a stage 1, but I don't know. It just doesn't seem... Like, it sounds really good on paper. I just don't know if we're going to see it in use. It's like one of those cards that, like, clearly goes with, like, Lost Zone decks or things that want to utilize the Lost Zone. But I just don't know how many decks will be able to make space for it, whether in the deck or on the bench, especially when you're going to be loaded up with Comfeys, your attacker, you know. I'm not sold on it, but I'd like to be proven wrong. That's a really interesting card effect. Radiant Hisuian Sneasler, Poison Peak is your ability. Put 2 more damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon. Put 2 more damage counters on your opponent's poisoned Pokemon during Pokemon checkup. So instead of taking 1 poison damage, they take 3 poison damage. So 30 damage. Status conditions aren't very, very popular at the moment. There's really not a lot that poison stuff. That might change with Lost Origin for a couple of cards that we're going to get to in just a moment here. But you do have a Dark Colorless. Poison Jab, 90 damage. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now poisoned. Terrible. If you're going to run something poisoned, Garbodor is a really good stage 1 Pokemon that lets you just poison your opponent's active if there's a stadium in play. I guess you can run Slowking, and then there's the Toxicroak from Sword and Shield base that lets you put 2 more damage counters on your opponent's poisoned Pokemon as well. So, Radiant Hisuian Sneasler and a Toxicroak, you're getting 50 damage worth of poison in between each turns. Now, it does say during Pokemon checkup, so things like Yoga Loop, things like Star Chronus that allow you to take a second turn, technically skip Pokemon checkup. So during that phase, if you Yoga Loop and take a second turn, if you Star Chronos and take a second turn, you technically never go to Pokemon Checkup, so you would not take poison damage in between those like back-to-back turns. Just something to keep in mind. So now we start to move on from the utility Pokemon to attacking Pokemon. And this is where some of the cards we just talked about are going to make a little bit more sense in terms of how they're used or why we might want them. The first one we're going to look at is Cramorant with the Lost Provider ability. If you have 4 more cards in the Lost Zone, ignore all energy in this Pokemon's attack cost, which would normally be Water Energy, and then you have Sneaky Spitball, 110 damage, not affected by weakness. I mean, it's fine. 110 is really not a lot, but it is free and it is a basic, so like that's kind of cool. And it could be really nice to like not have to worry about attaching energy, so you can like instead of having to Raihan that turn, you can Boss's Orders a Drizzile or a Sabo or something, get that last KO that you need to close out a game, or maybe take an early KO and use Cramorant to kind of offset the prizes. Now your opponent has to go to a single prizer and multiple 2 or 3 prize Pokemon, so it's like a thing. I could see it being a one of maybe, but that's about it. Hisuian Basculegion for no energy, Spirit Climb, 20 damage times the number of basic energies in your discard pile, and then shuffle those cards back into your deck. So things that want to go into the Lost Zone, this doesn't work with, because you're going to, instead of putting energies into the Lost Zone or discarding those, they're going to go into the Lost Zone, kind of counteracting or it's counter to it's counter to Lost Zone stuff, but it is a good way to recover a bunch of energies. So maybe if you're playing a Volcarona, I guess this could be like a really nice way to deal a bunch of damage and then get those energies back so you don't deck out. It is a stage 1, but the attack is free. So that's cool, I guess. The card that I'm actually fairly interested in this set is Hisuian Electrode V. Now, this is a basic V Pokemon that has an attack for free, and it does 100 times the number of special conditions that this Pokemon has. So, remember before that Parasect that poisons and puts our Pokemon to sleep? Well, now we have 2 status conditions. If we use something like Team Yellow Horn that confuses us, now we have 3. So we're poisoned asleep. I guess you wouldn't be able to be confused and asleep, technically. So you'd have to be like burned or something. But whatever. If we get 3 status conditions on this thing, we're hitting for 300 damage for free. No energies at all. That's crazy. This is a 210 HP Pokemon, so it's going to be knocked out pretty easily. But, again, you're attacking for free, 3 status conditions, you knock out Palkia V-Star. So even if they counter you, they're going to take more effort to KO, to get a second KO than you will on them. So you want to go second with this deck because you don't have to worry about energies, you don't have to worry about evolving, you just get the status conditions, and then boom, you're ready to go. How easy will it be to get those status conditions? Easier said than done, I think. The first one might be easy, but the follow-up ones might be a little difficult. Alternatively, you do have things like, I don't really know what else puts your Pokemon status conditions. You have like the Weeping Bell and Salazzle that was popular when Battle Styles came out, and this Tricolor Scale is Butterfree. That's a thing. So like status condition maybe, and then poison. Hisuian Sneasler can do more poison damage, chip damage. So like if you are able to poison your opponent's active Pokemon, get 2 status conditions onto this thing, and then you just have the Sneasler on the bench. You're hitting 220 for free. That's enough to knock out any relevant Pokemon V on your first turn going second without really having to worry too much. So it's a thing. Anyway, spent a little too much time on that. Clefairy with the Moon Watching ability. Once during your turn, if this Pokemon is in the active spot, search your deck for a Psychic Energy and attach it to each of your bench Clefairy. It's pretty interesting. And then Wonder Storm, 20 damage times the number of Psychic Energy attached to all of your Pokemon. So that's kind of cool. The most you're going to be getting is 4 Psychic Energies out of the deck. It can be kind of cool with like something like Mewtwo, V-Star. It could be kind of cool with like Shadow Rider. Just a really nice way of throwing this thing onto the bench and then just accelerating and pulling all these psychic energies out of the deck. It's kind of cool. I think that might be something interesting or something to at least look at or watch. Hisuian Zoroark for no energy, Curse of Destruction. At the end of your opponent's next turn, the defending Pokemon will be knocked out. This is a stage 1. It's really easy to avoid something like this by just retreating to the bench. Scoop up net if it's something that can be scoop up net. I don't really think it matters that much. And then for a Psychic Call Home, return a card from your discard pile into your hand. You're asking to get Marnied. So I'm not super convinced on this, but a card that a lot of people are pretty hyped about is Hisuian Arcanine. Now this is a fighting type because Hisuian Arcanine is fire rock, and so we're getting the rock typing in the form of fighting. Anyway, for no energy, Omnidirectional Destruction does 10 damage. If you have no cards in your hand, this attack does 150 more. So you can hit for 160 for free on a stage 1 is pretty cool. There's a fair amount of fighting weakness in the game at the moment between things like Arceus, soon to be Zoroark. You're going to have this Drapion, that's weak to fighting. Getting no cards in the hand is pretty easy sometimes. And then you do have the Radiant Venusaur that after you attack, you get to draw 4, so you'll never, you're not just be living on top deck mode. You'll be able to, after the effects of Omnidirectional Destruction happens and you deal 160 damage, then you get to draw 4 cards, and then you have some options for the next turn, so not bad. Radiant Steelix is the last Radiant Pokemon. Now, we'll see for this set. Energy Beam, 20 damage, attach up to 2 metal energies from your discard pile to this Pokemon, whatever. Metal, Colorless, Finishing, what does that say? Finishing Rend, 60 damage. Discard the top cards of your deck until you have 1 card left in your deck. This attack does 30 more damage for each energy card discarded in this way. So, we had that card before. What was it? That let us... Where was it? The Basculegion, that's what it was. So maybe there's something with Steelix and Basculegion that can kind of work together. I don't know. Drapion V has the ability Wild Style. This Pokemon's attacks cost 1 colorless less for each of your opponent's Fusion, Rapid, and Single Strike Pokemon in play. This is mostly to counter Mew. It will be almost a year. Fusion Strike came out in November 2021. This will be September 2022. Something that could really have hurt Mew when it first came out. Something we needed a long time ago. But Mew is already kind of falling out of favor, at least at the moment. So maybe we don't need this as badly as we think. It is weak to fighting, which I personally love to see. And Dynamic Tail does 190 damage. It does 60 damage to one of your Pokemon. So you do have to put that 60 damage somewhere. Now you choose where it goes. So I don't know, but it seems okay. And then you have, that's going to deal 380 damage to a Mew VMAX, which means even with Oricorio, even with Big Charm, you're still going to be one-shotting it. And because they will have multiple Genesects, Mews, Oricorio, Meloetta in play, I mean, you're just going to one-shot it. So they're not going to path themselves, so you don't really have to worry about that. In anything else, it's really not that great. I mean, I guess it could be used in against Arceus and Teleon decks, because technically Sobble is Rapid Strike. So if they have like 2-3 Rapid Strike Pokemon in play, like the Sobbles or the Inteleon, then you could be attacking for a single energy, maybe 2. So hit for 190 with a choice spot, you're hitting 220. It's doable. So maybe this gets a little bit more play than I'm initially thinking, but we'll have to see. Drapion V-Star for 2 Dark and a Colorless. Big Bang Arm does 250 damage, but it does 10 less for each damage counter on this Pokemon. I despise attacks like this, because that means you'll hit for 250, which, okay, cool. Maybe you're knocking out a V-Star with an attack. But then every attack after is substantially worse. So Arceus hits you for 180. So how much are you really doing after that? You're not really going to be doing anything significant. So, you're going to be hitting for 100 damage at that point if you have a choice belt. So, I don't know. It just doesn't seem super, super great. Star Hazard is the V-Star power. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now paralyzed and poisoned. During checkup, put 3 damage counters on that Pokemon instead of 1. You could, in theory, attack a Pokemon. Like, you could Star Hazard, paralyze and poison it. It's going to take 3 damage counters. You hit it with Big Bang Arm, and now it does 250. You go ahead and check up, you're hitting for another 30 because of the poison damage. That's 280, enough to knock out a Palkia V-Star, Arceus V-Star. And if you have a choice belt, you can even, knock out an Arceus V-Star with a Big Charm. But then again, the follow-up attacks is really what is lacking with this. So there has to be a way to either heal it, there has to be a way to get other ones out in play. Because it's Dark Colorless, you're going to be using your Dark Patches on it, you're going to be using your Trinity Novas onto it. It's going to be a little hard to set up follow-up attackers, at least consistently enough to deal with an attack that does less damage when you get hit. Whoops. Moving on to probably the biggest archetype, or the thing that people are most excited for from this set, Giratina V. Seek Abyss, look at the top 4 cards of your deck, put 2 of them into your hand and the other 2 into the Lost Zone. Not a bad way to start the game if you're going second. And then you have for Grass Psychic Colorless, Shred, 160 damage, and it's not affected by any effects on your opponent's active Pokemon. I hate that it has this. Why is that a good idea? Giratina V-Star is scary. I think these are scary. I mean, they're 280 HP, 2 retreat cost. It has no weakness, no resistance. So, I mean, to one-shot a Giratina V-Star is so difficult. Grass Psychic Colorless, Lost Impact does 280 damage, put 2 energy attached to your Pokemon in the Lost Zone. Now, it does not say 2 energy attached to this Pokemon. It says 2 energy attached to your Pokemon. So you could take energies from other Pokemon on the field, put them into the Lost Zone. That still counts. And then you have Star Requiem as your V-Star power. For a Grass and a Psychic, you can only use this attack if you have 10 or more cards in the Lost Zone. Your opponent's active Pokemon is knocked out. It's pretty solid. Pretty solid. I mean, just by using Lost Impact a couple of times, by using some of the other cards that we're going to talk about, it's pretty easy to get stuff into the Lost Zone. And we already saw things like Comfey, a big one that's going to let you potentially 4 times a turn put a card into the Lost Zone. That's already 4. Then we saw something like the Cramorant. You have 4 cards in your Lost Zone now. It attacks for free, does 110. You get some nice chip damage. I mean, there's ways to make this work, and we haven't even seen all of them yet. Hisuian Gujar V-Star is the other big V-Star we're getting. There's one more, you can clearly see it. It's Zoroark. And this has the Iron Press attack. Does 200 damage for a Water Metal Colorless during your opponent's next turn that take 80 less damage from attacks of any Pokemon, not just V. Any Pokemon will deal 80 less damage, which is kind of cool. Moist Star during your turn, heal all damage from this Pokemon. So it's very difficult to knock out 270 with no weakness. I don't really know what you're going to be doing. You attach a Big Charm onto this thing. It's 300 HP. How are you knocking that out in one hit? You don't. If they get the first attack, you're not even doing your full damage. That means Trinity Nova's only hitting for 100, and you have to do it 3 times, not including any times they might use Hyper Potion, they might use Lucky Ice Pop. There's just ways to heal stuff. They might play something like Cook to really try and wall install. And then eventually have Moist Star that they could use to really heal all damage from this thing anyway. So, can be very interesting. I'm actually a little interested in this deck. You do have to probably pair it with Arceus to get the Metal Water Colorless out. But, you play it similar to the Duraludon in that way, that you just get the one Arceus and then force them to go through these very tanky Gujars. I'm kind of looking forward to it. I think it'll be really interesting. Hisuian Zoroark V-Star is the last V-Star we'll take a look at, and it's also one that people are very, very popular for, or very excited for. It's a very popular Pokemon. For 2 colorless energies, which means a double turbo energy. Shredding Curse, 50 damage times the number of Pokemon that have any damage counters on it. For each of your Pokemon with damage counters on it. Phantom Star is your ability, and it is basically just Professor's Research. Discard your hand, draw 7 cards. Why is Shredding Curse such a good attack? Well, we have that Gengar that's going to let you get it from the discard, put 3 damage counters on it. We have Gate Draw Bog, which when you play a basic Pokemon, you put 2 damage counters on it. We haven't even seen another item card that's going to really pair well with this Damage Pump. We'll just talk about it now. Damage Pump lets you move damage counters from one of your Pokemon to another. So even if you don't have, you have the Gengar, a couple of Pokemon that have energy because of like Gate Draw Bog or something like that, you can use Damage Pump to pull damage counters from the Gengar and put it onto Pokemon that don't have damage counters. So now you're hitting super hard with Shredding Curse. And again, because you can do it with just a DTE, or you can use Gardenia's Vigor to power up one on the bench. You can Melanie onto this thing. You can Magma Basin onto this thing. 2 colorless energies is very easy to get energies and accelerate energies. So you have a lot of ways to do it. You have Arceus if you want. You probably don't need it because it's so easy to accelerate, attach, whether it's Gardenia's, Magma Basin, Melanie, something like that. Raihan if later in the game. And you could be hitting for 300 damage if all 6 Pokemon have damage counters on it. You're likely to be hitting for 250. 200 to 250 is probably realistic. But even so, 230, 280, those are magic numbers to hit. So very, very good, very powerful. It has a fighting weakness. Dunsparce will remove that fighting weakness, so you don't have to worry too much. 270 HP is good as well. And then we have Snorlax with the Endless Enervation ability. Prevent all attacks with this Pokemon's prevent effects of all Pokemon done to this Pokemon. So like, cool. It can't be poisoned. It can't be, a Pokemon that makes discard energies. It won't be energies. Won't be discarded like that. Damage is not in effect. 3 calls energies. Deep Sleep Thwomp, 180 damage. Pokemon's now asleep. Flip 2 coins instead of 1. If either is tails, this Pokemon's asleep. It's okay. It's whatever. Moving on to supporters, I think the biggest one is Corvus's Experiment. Look at the top 5 cards of your deck. Put 3 of them in your hand. Put the other 2 in the Lost Zone. So now you've used some Comfeys. You picked up a Corvus's Experiment. You play it. You draw 3. And 2, or you draw 5, 3 go into your hand, 2 in the Lost Zone. That's already 3 cards in the Lost Zone, and it's turn 1. Not to mention if you play another Comfey, if you scoop up net or air balloon into another one, that's 4. Now Cramorant's attacking for free, and you haven't even done anything. You've barely done anything. Fantina, you can only play this card if you have 10 or more cards in the Lost Zone. During your opponent's next turn, your Pokemon take 120 less damage from attacks of your opponent's Pokemon V. Cool, maybe you play this as a one-of, but by the time you got 10 cards in the Lost Zone, you're ready to use Giratina's V-Star power anyway. Take a knockout, ideally close the game. I don't know how Fantina will be, how much it will really be used. Arazu, search your deck for 3 evolution Pokemon that don't have a rule box, put them into your hand. So, you could search for your Dressage, you could search for your Inteleons, you can search for anything like that, but you can't search for your Giratinas. It doesn't help in Regis, it doesn't really help in Blissey. I don't know what single prize decks really use, maybe like Waterbox, but like, I don't know, man. It just doesn't seem like it for me. Misfortune Sisters, look at the top 5 cards of your opponent's deck. Discard any number of item cards you find there. Your opponent shuffles the other cards into their deck. Not bad. I just don't know how much. Maybe this is cool for Mill. Like a nice supporter for Mill, even though they likely want to try to boss trap it like mine. So that's like a thing. Control decks might benefit from this because then it gets rid of your air balloons, your escape ropes, your quick balls, your evolution incense, like things that you might really want. Misfortune Sisters can get rid of. Another card that people are very excited for is Thornton. Choose a basic Pokemon in your discard pile, switch it with one of your basic Pokemon in play. Any attached cards, damage counters, status conditions, turns in play, and other effects remain on the new Pokemon. So you just get to switch. Now, one of the really cool things about this is you can have a Drizzile, or you can have like a Sobble in play for like a turn or two, and then switch it with an Arceus V. It says basic Pokemon. Switch it with another base. It doesn't say anything about rule box Pokemon. It doesn't say anything about Vs or anything like that. It just says basic Pokemon. So I can take a Sobble that's been in play turn 1, and the next turn play Thornton and make it an Arceus after I discard it, or if one gets knocked out. And so this is a very interesting card. I think it's going to make for some very cool plays and some really interesting deck building. And I'm honestly excited to see what people do with it. I'm sure there are tons of Zoroark box and single prize boxes that want to be able to use something like this. I definitely see how there's potential. I don't really know what it is yet, but I know there's going to be potential, and I'm excited for it. Volo, discard one of your bench Pokemon and all cards attached to it. I mean, it's kind of cool. You can play a Crobat and then later Volo it away. You can play a Lumineon later, Volo it away. A Pokemon that's maybe heavily damaged, you can go ahead and play Volo to get those damage counters and clear that Pokemon, so your opponent can't just easily boss KO it, or knock it out with snipe damage, something like that. So interesting. Again, I don't know how much play it will really see, but it's there. Now we're into the items, and there's a couple of really important items here, and I cannot stress that enough. There are at least 3 items you have to know from this. Arc Phone is not one of them, but look at the top card of your deck. You may switch it with one of your face-down prize cards. Cool, I guess. Damage Pump, move up to 2 damage counters from one of your Pokemon to any other Pokemon in any way you like. So you have that Gengar. It has 3 damage counters on it. You can take 2 of those, put one of them on a Pokemon that doesn't have damage counters, put the other one on another Pokemon, and that's 3 Pokemon that have damage counters on them. So now you're hitting for 150 very easily, and that's not including anything else you do that turn. So interesting little combo there. Lost Sweeper is very, very important. Put a card from your hand in the Lost Zone in order to use this. Choose a Pokemon tool or stadium and put it into the Lost Zone. So that means your training courts can go. That means your big charms are going to go into the Lost Zone. Your whatever. So, and it's worth noting that it says choose a Pokemon tool or stadium, which means you can get rid of your own stadium or even your own tools in order to use this to get more stuff into the Lost Zone. Probably won't have more than 1 or 2 of these. Mirage Gate, though, is probably the most important item we'll talk about. You can only play this card if you have 7 or more cards in the Lost Zone, but we've already looked at ways where you can get 5 or 6 as early as turn 1 going second. Anyway, start your deck for 2 basic energy cards of different types and attach them to your Pokemon any way you like. Shuffle your deck. You get a Grass and a Psychic, you attach it to your Giratina, then you attach for turn, and now you are attacking immediately. Crazy. You're hitting with Shred. You're hitting with Shred crazy. I think Shred does 160 damage, something like that. So you're hitting for good damage. Not just damage, you're hitting for good damage. Mechanical Arm. This Pokemon can attack even if it's asleep or paralyzed. Obviously, Hisuian Electrode. So you attach this. That's kind of the thing. You have to be able to find this and then attach it. And then you can go ahead and do all your status conditions shenanigans. I don't think it's going to be super good, that deck. But, I mean, it's a deck that it can attack for no energy. So instead of having 8 energy slots, those can all be trainers and Pokemon's things to help you find these mechanical arms. You can have 4 of them. It doesn't really matter. Toolbox, look at the top 7 cards of your deck. You may reveal any number of Pokemon tool cards from there, put them into your hand. There you go. Toolbox helps you find Mechanical Arm. Lake Acuity. Each Pokemon that has any water or fighting energy attached to it, both yours and your opponent's, take 20 less damage from attacks. Goodra is going to have a water energy onto it. So you hit with Iron Press, you take 80 less damage. Now you're going to have Lake Acuity in play. You're going to take 100 less damage. I mean, you can plus a Big Charm or some other full face guard that's going to help you. There's some ways of taking less damage, I'm sure of it. Lost City is the other stadium card. When a Pokemon is knocked out, it goes into the Lost Zone instead of the discard. Discard all attached cards. So, very interesting here. The energies and tools will go to the discard. The Pokemon will go into the Lost Zone. Again, just a cool way of getting that stuff into the discard. And the last card we'll talk about is Gift Energy. It's a Pokemon this card is attached to is knocked out from damage by an opponent's attack. Drawn to, you have 7 cards in your hand. Now, worth noting, status condition knockout. So you deal 250 damage to your opponent's Pokemon with Big Bang Arm, and they have 3 damage, like they have 30 health left. It's like an Arceus V-Star. If you poisoned it, like with the Hazard Star ability, now it's going to take 3 damage during checkup. When it takes that 3 damage and hits the 280 damage and gets knocked out, because you didn't deal the damage, it got knocked out by poison during checkup, Gift Energy would not kick in. It would not take effect. It has to be damage. Like, you have to knock it out from an attack, not from chip damage, not from quick shooting, things like that. So keep that in mind. Gift Energy won't always be active the second a Pokemon gets knocked out. Has to be knocked out from damage from an attack. And that's all the cards I want to look at. So there you go. Some of the biggest and best cards coming from Lost Origin. I highly recommend that some of the ones that we looked at today, you really start to learn. Definitely learn the Lost Zone stuff. Learn the Giratina, learn the Comfey, learn the Lost Sweeper, the Lost City, Mirage Gate. These are cards that you absolutely have to know about because you're going to see them. You're going to see Zoroark at least for a little because it's popular and people think that it's pretty good. And you might see a Goodra here or there, but I don't think the rest of it you really have to worry about. Those are like the big cards that you really need to know. But anyway, that's going to do it for us today. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, found it a little informative. If you did, subscribe, like, comment, go let Justin Basil know how good his website is. I'm sure he'd love to hear that. And that's going to do it for us today. Thanks so much, and I will see you next time.